And we'll get started. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon for this webinar on Molori. We'll be presenting Molori Safari in Madikwe in South Africa and Molori Mashuma, their new property in Pools in Zimbabwe. So starting at Molori Safari, a property that's been around for about 10 years and is located in Madikwe Game Reserve in the north of South Africa. So you can see here this brilliant map of South Africa from the Africa Hub. And you can see up here where Madikwe Game Reserve is, just on the border there with Botswana. And in the reserve, this is where Molori Safari is located. So if you know Madikwe Safari Lodge, we're located not too far from those guys. And we are very close to the Madikwe East airstrip. So you fly in there, generally from Johannesburg, and then it's only sort of a few minutes drive to the lodge, depending on what you see on the way. Now, the Madikwe Game Reserve, for those of you who don't know it, is an amazing Big Five reserve. It's also a malaria-free reserve as well. So an excellent kind of destination for families or people just not wanting to have to take the anti-malarial tablets as well. But you can really see everything here. In terms of the main lodge, it is a beautiful kind of set into the hillside overlooking the reserve. And the interior design here is really, really cool. And they've kind of taken inspiration from the surroundings and also from South African designers. They've had these amazing rugs designed by different South African designers that you can see throughout. The property. So there's lots of touches like that throughout, an amazing kind of art and design and sculptures all throughout the main lodge and in the rooms. So it really is, there's so much to kind of explore. You almost feel a little bit like you're in an art gallery. You can kind of wander through all the different kind of areas and different levels of the main lodge, and you really do see a lot of it when they kind of set up dinners and breakfasts and lunches in different areas of the lodge. But it's got a very, very cool design. There are many different places to dine. You've got the main pool, again, with those beautiful, beautiful views. And it's a huge main pool that wraps kind of almost around that main area. One of the really key features of the property, which Anisha and I really loved when we came down here, was the hide, and it's a very luxurious hide. It's certainly the most luxurious hide I've been in. And what's great about it is you have this brilliant space up here where they can set up meals. So we had a breakfast up here. We also had a dinner up here as well. And as you can see there on the wall behind the table, there's actually a screen there. So you can kind of see if something's coming down to the water hole. And then you can walk down the stairs, which are just here. And you head down into the hide, and you are eye level with this watering hole, and elephants coming down to drink, warthog coming down to drink. They get lions and leopards coming down here as well, and it's so comfortable down here. There's a couple of sofas. There's these lovely, comfortable high stools, and you could just hang out down here for hours. Really, you can have a drink, you can grab a coffee, and you can. We sat in here all morning. On our final morning, we decided not to go out on a game drive. It was raining a little, and so we decided to sit down here, and we thought, oh well, with the rain which had started the day before, we thought, oh, we won't really have much come down because there'll be water elsewhere, but lo and behold, these are photos just from our phones when we were here, and we were here in October, so you can see that it's very dry, and so it was incredible to have these incredible sightings, and you could just eye level with the animals. So we had this herd of Ellies. One sort of came around the corner, and we thought it'll be the only one, and then we ended up with about 20 all just right ahead of us. So it's a really nice option, particularly if there's guests who kind of maybe are looking at a longer stay or don't want to feel beholden to always having to be out on a game drive or on a walk. You can very feasibly sit there all morning or all afternoon. And for once, I didn't feel like I was missing out. Usually if you skip a game drive, you feel like you're missing something. But we had such incredible sightings right from the lodge that we didn't feel like we were missing anything. So onto the rooms, you'll again see throughout the rooms these very cool rugs. You can see one here by all these amazing designers, and you'll see that kind of interior design and art sort of style throughout the rooms as well. We've got two of these 2-bedroom presidential suites. We've got this beautiful big bedroom on the one side. It's got a big ensuite bathroom. You have a lovely big main area as well. And then you have a slightly smaller second bedroom. So these would work really nicely for a family. If you sell it right, 2 couples, I'm sure would be happy in here, but you just have to make sure they know the rooms are slightly different sizes. You've got a jacuzzi there. You've got a lovely big pool as well. I mean, you could do laps very happily in that pool, and amazing kind of sweeping views once again over the reserve. We then have one of these 2-bedroom family suites. Now this is set over 2 levels. So you have the main bedroom with ensuite bathroom downstairs, and then you have a second bedroom upstairs. It does also come with a pool and private deck as well. And then we have 3 of these 1-bedroom premier suites. So these perfect for couples. You've got a lovely big fireplace there, and a little living area too. And so, as I said, you know, this area is amazing for family safaris because it is malaria-free. So there is no age restriction at Molori. We can have kids of any age stay in the lodge. And we just love setting up dinners and, you know, boma dinners, and kind of celebrating special occasions as well. There's lots of different kind of areas in the main lodge. So there's this stargazing, and there's a really beautiful high deck with incredible views that's sort of set up slightly higher than the rest of the lodge. And there's just lots of little areas where they can set up private dinners for guests. So you have incredible experiences every evening, no matter where you've been sort of set up, and it just provides a really beautiful private experience for all the guests. The food here was incredible. You know, we really had kind of fine dining level food throughout our stay. No matter what meal we were eating, we were blown away by it every time. We also have a spa and a gym at the property. So in the spa, we've got a treatment room, and then we also have a sauna and cold plunge pool. We also have got the gym there as well. And I think that just makes for an in-lodge experience that makes you feel like you can kind of stay here for, you know, for an extended stay. I know they've got a family that comes down every year and stays for 9 nights. And they kind of have their itinerary when they're here, and they tend to spend, you know, at least a morning or a morning and an afternoon in the Hyde. They make use of the gym and the pool, and so there is so much in the lodge, as well as, you know, being out in the reserve, seeing all the incredible game that's here. And it is not just Big Five. You know, we have the Big Five here, but there's also, you know, it's an amazing area for wild dog. And so it is just a really incredibly well-rounded game experience. I know when we were down, it was right on the cusp of the sort of end of the dry season, the start of the rainy season. Their first rain actually landed while we were there, which was really amazing. And they were kind of really hoping for a good rainy season, because it was looking incredibly dry. But we had, I mean, at one point, kind of herd of buffalo, pride of lion, and a rhino within a kind of 20-meter radius, and I was just sort of jaw on the floor. It's kind of, you know, we'd been there, I think it was our first game drive. So it is a really incredible game experience down there, and they can organize walking safaris there too. So moving swiftly on now to Molori Mashuma. This is their new property. It has its soft launch towards the end of last year, or the end of the Mana Pool season, and it will reopen at the beginning of the Mana Pool season on the 1st of April. So their season will run from the 1st of April to late October, and then of course close for the rains, as most other lodges will do in this area. And Mana Pools is, of course, just known for being a most incredible area. The owners of Molori Safari, you know, they had a lodge here. Really, they have a lodge here really just because they fell in love with the area. This park is just stunning. For photographers, it has the most beautiful light, particularly when you're in amongst the trees, sorry. And you've got the most incredible Ellie sightings as well. when you're down by the river, it's just a completely different kind of feeling when you're on the river frontage as compared to when you're back where the camp is. So just showcasing here where Mana Pools National Park is situated. You've got Zimbabwe here, as you can see, you've got all the neighbouring countries, Botswana, South Africa, Mozambique, Zambia, and then that tiny little strip of Namibia. And then we've got Mana Pools up here in the north. So if any of you know the Lower Zambezi National Park, we are directly over from the Lower Zambezi. So you can see here the Lower Zambezi National Park in Zambia, and you've got the river, which is the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe here. And so Mana Pools is situated, of course, on the Zim side. Molori Mashuma is just here, just set back from the river. So we're about between sort of 30 and 45-minute drive from the river. Depends on how long you choose to take to get down there. Generally, of course, you'll be stopping and looking at things and seeing animals. So you kind of mosey on down there at leisure. So Molori Mashuma is situated in a private concession, and then we also have another private concession called Zebravlay, which is an area that that guests will traverse when they stay here, and it's totally private. Guests will fly into Mana main airstrip and then make their way by game drive vehicle to the camp. So the camp is situated on a pan. So while we are set back from the river, we're in this sort of private concession, and we are right on this sort of pan of water here. This pan is here throughout the season. Towards kind of end of the season, we were here down here in sort of mid-October. They are helping it out a little bit by pumping it, but just adding a bit of fresh water to it. It doesn't kind of require, it doesn't require sort of artificial being pumped with water any other time of the year, really. And really being here, it is all about looking out onto that water. So you can see here the main area, it's all really open, and just kind of with all views of the pan from absolutely everywhere. These photos were taken kind of slightly earlier in the season, I think in around June, July kind of time. So you can see that the water is a little higher then. It does recede ever so slightly as we move, later into the drier months, or as it's been drier for longer. We've got the main pool here, which is very nice, especially when we were down here in that hotter month. Just to hang out in the pool and to just watch, you can just sit here and watch animals and watch the birds come down to drink. So it really does feel like you can have that armchair safari here. The design again here is really, really stunning and very, very cool. Like at Molori Safari, the interior design is a really big part, and utilizing, local artists for, interior pieces as well. I know in particular this vase was designed and created by a Zimbabwean artist, and they will have other kind of art installations going in throughout the lodge. Now, of course, being the design here, it's not a lodge with sort of structured walls, and the rooms are tented as well. So it's not kind of like art on the walls. It will be much more kind of, sculptural or practical kind of pieces like mirrors that have been designed by these local artists. But there's a lot of kind of design through the textures here as well. So while you have got those very cool pops of color, the textures and the shapes are very interesting throughout the design. Actually, I was flicking back because this drum here was actually here when they came and bought the land here and or leased the land, and it's actually a drum from when the Rangers used to use this area and use it for target practice. So you can see there's kind of the bullet holes throughout that old rusted drum, and they've actually used that to kind of as inspiration for the design of partitions and also the headboards in the bedrooms as well. This is a very usual sight, an elephant coming down to drink at the pan. And so sitting here, there's lots of comfy chairs, there's the pool, there's the lounges, there's places to just hang out and just watch. So moving on to the rooms, we're again just 6 rooms here at Molori Mashuma. We've got 4 of these premier suites. They are 1 bedroom. You've got a beautiful big sort of area outside, and then you have got the bedroom with adjoining bathroom. We've also got an outdoor shower, and then the toilet's just through here. And all the baths in all these rooms have been angled so that when you're sitting in them, you have a perfect view of that pan. So everything kind of been really well thought out. We're also adding, I think I mentioned earlier with the mirrors, there will be another mirror going in here, which will be kind of a quirky, cool design that will have been designed by a Zimbabwean artist. And they will be going in. In fact, they probably should already be in time for the opening of the new season. So that's just one thing that is missing from these photos. And then, yeah, just absolutely incredible views. Guests can just sit here and just take in just the amazing views in front of them. We've then got two of these double suites, so they're 2-bedroom suites. They have a lovely big kind of living area inside, and then they've got a living area outside. They've got a dining area outside and lounges, and they also do have a private plunge pool as well. The bedrooms here, you have the bathroom set behind, but very, very similar in terms of the interior design. And what's brilliant here is that the 2 bedrooms are completely identical. The layout, the size, everything is exactly the same. So they'd really work nicely for 2 couples. Once again, you've got another mirror going in here that's going to have kind of a cool design, and I think they'll probably all be slightly different in each room, which is really, I cannot wait to see them. And so those little touches are being added as well to the interior design there. And again, you've got outdoor bathroom, indoor bath. And what I really loved about the kind of safari style here and the pace of the safari here is probably down to, I mean, our guide, but I think the Zimbabwean guides are known very, very much for being some of the best in the business. I know that their training is very, very rigorous. And our guide was absolutely incredible. I felt like he was sort of like the fountain of all knowledge. He was like a philosopher. And what was lovely is that we had these kind of moments out of the vehicle where it didn't feel like we had gone out on a walk or we'd gone out on a drive, but we had kind of gone out driving and then hopped out of the vehicle when we needed to, or when there was something we wanted to get to and it was off-road, because we're obviously in the national park here. You don't generally drive off-road. And so we kind of jumped out the vehicle, we'd walk for a little bit, we walked onto lions at one point, and then, you know, come back to the vehicle, drive on a little bit more. So it felt very fluid, and it felt like we were kind of just heading out, seeing what we could find and seeing how the day took us, which I really just loved, that kind of pace and style of the safari. Of course, we had incredible wildlife encounters, and what was lovely is we got to kind of drive down to the river and make use of that river frontage as well. So by no means are guests kind of missing out by being set back from the river. You know, one day, I think we were there four nights, if I remember correctly. And one of the days we kind of got up early, we drove down to the river. We kind of traversed along the river, had a bush breakfast down there, carried on for a little bit, and we ended up not getting back to the camp until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, when we had lunch. We actually had massages as well, because they do have a masseuse in camp also. They just did them in the rooms. And then we just stayed in the camp all afternoon because we had so much activity on that pan. So I really felt like that day in particular, we got kind of really the best of both worlds. We had that amazing river views, where it just feels like a completely different park. So you have that amazing contrast. And then we headed back to our very, very private setting, where we just sat and watched, you know, elephants and warthog and all the birds come down to drink at the waterhole. And so it was just a really, really cool spot for having kind of the both. Now, a quick look at the rates. We always like to include rates in our presentations. Of course, Molori Safari quotes in Rand as a South African lodge, and Molori Mashuma is quoting in US dollars. Both are all inclusive. I will send out rate sheets and all the rest of it when we follow up, as always. Do let me know if you've got any questions. Always open to questions in the Q&A if you'd like to ask them. And as I said, we'll be sending out our usual follow-up in the next couple of days. That will include their agent kit. It will include images, rates, fact sheets, and everything you kind of need to be booking either of these properties. We'll also send out a recording of the webinar as well. We'll just quickly check and make sure we've not got any questions. Naturally, as well, as always, Anita and I are both on the other end of the phone or email. So if you have you think of anything after the fact or would like some more clarification or team training, do please let us know, and we're more than happy to help. I will just check the Q&A now that I've got out of that. Amazing. Nikki, thank you. Is there a minimum age for kids? Yes, so at Molori Mashuma, there is a minimum age for kids. It is age 7. Naturally, though, if you ever have inquiries for children under those ages, I think with all our clients, send an email, double check, make sure, there's no reason for special dispensation or something like that, but generally it is 7 and over. At Molori Safari, there isn't a minimum age for children in the lodge. So I hope that helps. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. And we'll be sending this out as soon as possible. And I hope you can join us for our next webinar, which will be on the 20th of March, and Ola will be presenting that, and it will be on House of Wayne. Thank you very much, and have a good rest of your day.